And now that we've all got you here, I'm excited to share some really great news. So as you know, the Chamber is the Chamber of Commerce, of course, for Franklin County. But we also operate as Franklin County's Regional Tourism Council. And yesterday, or actually it's Wednesday, we presented the FY23 grant proposal to the Massachusetts Office of Tourism and Travel. And if successful, we will be awarded hundreds of thousands of dollars, which will allow us to leverage our new branding. If you'll remember, that's the tree logo we debuted back in April, to strategically promote and advertise Franklin County to our target markets. Last year, tourism brought in $79 million to Franklin County, so this side of the chamber is incredibly important work. It's very impactful, and I just want to take a moment to say thank you to Lisa and to Marion for their incredible and crucial role they play in that success. Thank you so much. And then as a result of that presentation, the state selected Franklin County and the Chamber to be Massachusetts Feature Spotlight for the Mott Industry Newsletter, so that's great news. It's always nice when we get to tout Franklin County out there in Boston. And then moving on to announcements, the Franklin County Young Professionals are holding our second pop-up event on Thursday, November 10th at 5:30. And just as another friendly reminder, you do not need to be under 40 nor even that professional to attend those events. If you have a pulse or you know someone who does, we would love to have you. We are really working to fill the pipeline of emerging leaders in Franklin County, and we just really appreciate your referrals and your recommendations and your participation, so please join us on the 10th. But if you can't wait until the 10th to network at Greenspace Cowork in Greenfield, you can stop by this Wednesday at 5:30 for the Business Breakdown. The Business Breakdown series is hosted by Greenspace Cowork in partnership with our friends at the Greenfield Business Association and spotlights a Greenfield-based business each month. I've had the opportunity to attend 2 business breakdowns at this point. They're really interesting. This month we'll be hearing from the Franklin County Agricultural Society, which, as we know, is the fancy name for the fairgrounds. And then speaking of the fairgrounds, see these transitions? They're flawless. I'd like to publicly thank Michael Nelson and the entire planning committee for 12 wonderful years of the Great Falls Festival. This year's event was especially amazing, but there is so much work that goes on to coordinating an event of that magnitude and shutting down an entire street, and they really did it flawlessly for over a decade. So please join me in giving Michael a round of applause. I don't know that he's here today, but he deserves it. And then in lighter news, Light Up the Fairgrounds and the Franklin County Festival of the Trees are both looking for participating businesses to join the fun. So if you are interested in decorating or donating a tree or entering a light display, please check out their respective Facebook pages. You can also just email us at the Chamber and we'll connect you with those coordinators. All right, we did it. Actually, no, we didn't. We have one more thing. As you remember, in September, we launched the United Way campaign kickoff. If you have not yet had a chance to start your workplace campaign, please feel free to see me after the breakfast. Jeff Nonheim from the United Way of the Franklin and Hampshire Regions is also here. We have a pretty lofty goal this year, and we really appreciate your support. So there is still time. Jeff will be happy to tell you how easy and painless he can make that process for you. So please see him after the breakfast. All right, on with the show. This program is called The Fall into Franklin County, but while that's alliterative and mildly punny, it's not exactly true, because as we'll hear from our speakers today, the innovation and advancement that's taking place right here in Franklin County is strategic and intentional, and in some industries celebrated globally. Our first speaker is Lynn Benander, who is the president of Northeast Biodiesel. Northeast Biodiesel is a worker-owned, consumer-owned cooperative right here in Greenfield. They just celebrated their launch a few weeks ago, although they have been in the works for a really long time, so I'm excited to hear her tell you all about that. But we didn't want to waste any time introducing them to our chamber network, so please help me welcome Lynn.
Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And yes, I bet you all have heard about Northeast Biodiesel for some time, and I'm going to actually tell you that the first time we started talking about starting a biodiesel plant, it was 2002. Let's see, that's 20 years ago. So I've been a part of a lot of business development efforts, and I can gladly say this one is the longest one. Most of the time it's 2 or 3 years, but sometimes really big things are a little bit more challenging. And I've been a part of several other community-owned efforts that took 10 years, or 15 years for multi-million-dollar projects. But this one was by far the longest, and I don't think I have enough time in my lifetime to do another one, so I'm glad about that. But it's such an honor to be a part of a group of people that say, this is something we want to have here in our community, and they put their money in, and they put their time in, and they put all of their best ideas and all their business connections, and just keep going. And we could have sold out, we could have pulled out, and that's kind of the traditional thing to do if something doesn't work. You take your capital and you go somewhere else. And we had an opportunity to do that. In fact, we were looking to do that in 2018 when the EPA was defunded, and we finally had quality biodiesel we were making, and it was supposed to take 55 days to get it certified by the EPA, but there was no one working at the EPA at that time, and so we couldn't get it certified. So then we couldn't be eligible for the federal incentives that were required, so we actually kind of lost faith in ourselves, and we were ready to sell out and move on. But some of our friends in the world of cooperative development said, if your lenders are willing to take 10 cents on their dollar and go home, why don't you just restructure your balance sheet and get some new debt? And Mass Development said, that sounds like that could work for us. And the life insurance initiative said, that sounds like that could work for us. And all of a sudden, we were back on a fast track to get launched. And all of our lenders said, do you mean that we could actually have the biodiesel plant that we've been trying to build for so long? And so they were excited. So people, and it's more than 100 families that put their money in, and it's right now about $5.5 million investment that our local investors put in. We just raised another $1.3 million from Mass Development, the Life Initiative, Co-op Fund of New England, the Local Enterprise Assistance Fund out in the Boston area, and our local CDC. And so we now have a lot of money invested in this plant, but the Biden administration has put in really great incentives, and instead of having a short-term incentive, we've got a long-term incentive, which will allow us to repay all of those new loans that have come in. And we're back to being with our patient investors. And we got a plant, and it's so exciting to be there. It's so exciting. The worker owners have been working in manufacturing all their lives, all their careers, and they're many, they range in between 40 and 55. And they're so excited to be part of a plant that they own. They're part of the management team that's deciding how to make it work. And I can't believe their dedication. They're taking a plant that's been mothballed for quite a while, and they've gone through every motor, every pipe, every tank, cleaned it out, and they're so proud of really making it work because it's theirs. So this plant is owned 75% by Co-op Power, which is a consumer-owned cooperative, and 25% by the workers. And over the next 5 to 10 years, that's going to switch to be 75 by the workers and 25 by the consumers. So if biodiesel is of interest to you, I want to tell you we're collecting used cooking oil from local restaurants, food processing centers, local being Western Mass and maybe beyond. And we're taking that used cooking oil, that waste product, and turning it into biodiesel that you can use in any oil heat system or any diesel engine. And this is a product that cuts your carbon contribution, takes you off of petroleum diesel, cuts the carbon by between 78 and 88%. So it's a significant contribution to climate change. It doesn't cost more, and it's local. So please find ways to support. Right now, the plant's only selling commercial, so minimum 25,000 gallon orders. But we'd love to talk to you if you have any interest or know of somebody that might be. It's great for farms, for construction, for, I forgot the last one I was going to tell you. But anyway, any place, for municipal fleets. Any place where you've got, or kids on buses, it's any place you've got people in a diesel vehicle, it really improves the indoor air quality there. So it's a great product. I'm so proud of all the people that have made it happen, for the 100 investors that put their money in early and really saw this through. It's an example of what patience and dedication can do, and I'm hoping it would be a very wonderful contribution to our local economy here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Vegetable oil, huh? It's exciting. And next we have Randy Ames. Randy is an electrical engineer, a master licensed electrician, and founder or president of Ames Electrical Consulting in Deerfield. Randy and his team is over here. Can you give a wave? They build and service custom industrial electrical control systems for machinery and manufacturing and municipalities. Randy was kind enough to invite me to stop in and show me around a few months ago, and they are doing some really cool work. I understood a fraction of what he was trying to explain to me, and it still blew my hair back. I am really thrilled to have him here today, so welcome, Randy.
Thanks, Jesse. You're too kind.
Want me to hold something?
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll put it like this.
Great.
All right. For right now. Good morning, everybody. Pardon my voice. Remember when a few years ago you didn't have to have nose swabs and poked and prodded when you had a head cold? Yeah, so I'm on the downward side of a head cold. So pardon my voice. Yes, Jesse said what we do at Ames, we've been around 30 years. I started the company 30 years ago. And what we do is we design and build custom industrial control systems. So what is that? So let's take a machine or a process such as making biodiesel, and you've got a machine and it's all mechanical and stuff. Well, there's a bunch of brains in it. And we're the guys that do the automation. We're the automation guys is really what we are. So we program touchscreens, we program computers to automate these particular machines. So we don't do the mechanical stuff, we're doing the electrical stuff. So we assist large and small customers around the globe. We've got machines all over the place, and we've been doing so for a while. We repair and upgrade machines that make things like Play-Doh, golf balls, granola, beer, candles, plastic film, as well as controlling dams on rivers, amusement park rides, and equipment for water, wastewater, and nuclear facilities. And regarding nuclear facilities, if you think about when the majority of the nuke plants were built in the country, it was all in the 70s. So you can imagine the upgrades that need to happen over the years as they've got these large computers that fill rooms, and now we're putting them in this. It's nice to know that they're getting upgrades. Our success rate is really like 100%. It's tough for electrically not to make something work. Mechanically is another problem. But and we really excel at building customer trust. And we've got customers that have been with us for 28 years in up and down the 91 corridor. We're at 711 Greenfield Road in Deerfield, which is 2 buildings south of the Wok Restaurant. We've been there since 2011, and we've now gotten so busy we migrated to the other half of the building, which was empty. We employ 5 people, and we're continuing to grow due to demand and strategic planning. During the pandemic, we were essential business due to supporting critical industries such as water, wastewater. So, do is everything's custom. But this little thing right here is what we're calling our rat. So one of the things that happened during COVID is that we couldn't get in to repair and fix machinery. We would have a customer call, and then it would be like, oh, nope, sorry, everything changed, you can't come in today. Okay, well, how do we fix this? Introduce the RAT. So the RAT stands for us, for Remote Access Technology. So with this little box, you plug it into the wall. It's got a antenna on the side, and we've designed and built this and developed it. A couple of buttons in the front. They take a Ethernet cable, plug it into this port here, plug it into the machine, and anywhere that we have web access, we now can drill into the machine and fix it remotely. So we can see everything that's going on. We don't have to have boots on the ground. The cool thing about this is the technology has been around for a while. We've just developed this, and we're going to be selling these to some of our customers. That we have customers out towards Boston. Well, that's a 2-hour drive. We need the machines down. We need help right away. If they had one of these, we're not driving 2 hours, and we're saving them 2 hours of downtime. So it's in its final testing stages. We got to write all the legality, and we have 2 or 3 customers that are chomping at the bit to get one of these things. Yeah, that's what it looks like inside for those that can see it. Bunch of wires and some stuff. Pretty much.
That I understand.
I won't burden you with any of that stuff. But a couple other things that we've been working on lately is we actually have a golf ball printing machine in our facility in Deerfield. It's about 30 feet long, and what it does is it had some robots on it, and then they asked us, well, we don't want these robots, put a different robot on it. Okay. Did a bunch of electrical changes to it, brought it up to current industry standards. The machine was built in 2002, and so it prints the logo on the golf ball, rotates it, puts a number, and then on the other end of the machine, there's UV cure, so it prints it and then goes into the UV light, and on the other end, out it comes all ready to go. So that's when Jesse was able to see that and was kind of like, wow, I had no idea this was here. So that's almost ready. Actually, we're looking to ship that within the next month. We recently did a operation game, like take out wrenched ankle, for this company called Hasbro. Located down in East Long Meadow. If you look at the operation board, there's a half a dozen pins that come up out of the plastic board, the table, and then the cardboard is put over the top, and then a heat welder comes down and makes it look like the little rivets. That was it. Bring it in, heat it, stack them all up, and we finished that this year. We're working on a metal tool stamp and bend machine. We work with a couple of OEMs, local, that we're doing controls that they're reselling for spray nozzles. You might be able to guess who that is. And those are being sold globally now. We also do some repeat business with a candle manufacturer that has, okay, pick one. I'm not going to say. But it's a portable liquid filler. So right now we're doing a lot of retrofits. We're seeing a lot of business. We are growing. We're continuing to grow strategically. Last year we pulled in 2 more employees. We have an employee training program from May to November of last year. I was in the SBA, Small Business Administration, Emerging Leaders Program, which kind of takes your business to the next level and teach how to do that. If you ever have an opportunity, I would say do it. It's great for those that are starting up a business, those that have been in a business for as long as I've been. Phenomenal program. Actually found out about it through a little tiny note in the chamber newsletter. That was great. Created a training program. We've received the Workforce Training Fund grant to train our employees because people just don't walk out of college or high school knowing how to do this stuff. So it's been a really exciting time for us over the last couple of years, even through this COVID. Our biggest problems right now are getting parts. The global supply chain is just, we've got stuff that we've ordered that's going to be another year out. So and I don't see it happening and changing anytime soon, but we're working around it, and we're trying to find new ways to be innovative, and the RAT is part of that process. So I thank you all for coming, and enjoy the rest of your breakfast and your day. Thank you.
Favorite things about Randy is how casually he just throws around the term robots. Just robots here, robots there. Totally normal. Lastly, we have Boyle-Clapp of the UMass Arts Extension Service and Lisa Davol, who is our longtime marketing manager at the Chamber. And they're here to present an exciting launch of the ArtsHub of Western Mass, which is an innovative online resource platform designed to connect and engage the crucially important and often underfunded members of our local creative economy. I had the opportunity to attend the Western Mass ArtsHub launch a few weeks ago, and they're doing some really impressive work, so I'm really glad you'll get to see that today. Welcome.
So I'm Boyle-Clapp. It's just a pleasure to be here, so thank you so much for inviting me. We're really excited to share this with you. Not unlike Lynn's story, what we're going to share is also the 20-year slog to make something happen, so we're excited. So the ArtsHub is an online resource launched in January, actually, to serve creatives, arts patrons, and events producers, as well as the audiences. The ArtsHub concept has been around for quite a long time. It was identified as a need by the region's creatives and businesses, and this project built upon work that was done over 2 decades by past and current partners who worked really tirelessly within the arts community. This project is a perfect union of arts and economic development partnership. Each of these partners are working independently to serve their local arts community. They come together to create one significant resource that serves the 4 counties of Western Mass. It's our valley as well as Berkshire County. The early success of the ArtsHub is because it is comprehensive. It's inclusive of the region, and it's not merely maintained by just a small group of independent folks, but it's actively working throughout this community. The ArtsHub's sort of claim to some kind of success is that we, as we will describe, really invites artists to take part and to add it to the site itself, to actively engage in the process. Next, please. Thank you. So as you can see, and I will not go through all of these years, we also really kicked off in 2002, really working hard, and this is like one of the earliest layers of work. The Northern Tier and subsequent reports noted that, if nurtured, the arts could be a powerful economic driver that provides jobs, sparks tourism, and creates regional vibrancy. Developing the arts was equated with developing our economy, and this region was rich with potential. In the early years, many projects and initiatives were developed across Western Mass, including really critical work that was funded by the Massachusetts Cultural Council's John and Abigail Adams Arts Funds grants. This series of grants was pivotal for this region. They provided 3 tiers of funding. The first was a planning grant. What are we going to do? The second one was, the first one was planning grants, then implementation. Then they provided long-term support. That was critical as well, because what it did was it provided opportunities for communities to hire a program coordinator, a dedicated person who really ensured that processes and projects would get going. So what am I talking about? Some of these projects are things that you would recognize because they're still working today. So for example, River Culture in Turner's Falls, East Hampton City Arts, Holyoke Spark, and others all became processes that Adams grants that really turned and transformed their communities. Another one was called Fostering the Arts and Culture Partnership, which the catchment area was not a single town like all these other ones were, but instead it focused on Franklin County. We offered, and I was actually the coordinator at the time, We offered professional development, creative conversation events, and the region's first Creative Economy Summit, which we provided workshops for artists, creatives, and this was a tradition that really, really took hold. We've offered many of these over the decades. So it's been really fun to actually do this together. What's been also really interesting is that together the ArtsHub and these initiatives really included a similar desire. All of these individual projects all came up with similar ideas. Everybody wanted to create their own website, their own artist directory. They wanted to catch their own databases. And unfortunately, as one of the things that happened over time was that these organizations, these institutions, lost funding, and everything fell down with it. So it really burned out the artists. They really felt like, why would I get excited about yet another project when it's just going to disappear anyway? So this was an issue that Lisa will describe later, how we solved this problem. So going back a little bit, in 2009, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission published a Creative Economy report that revealed a really remarkable statistic. This region has a disproportionately high number of creatives and artists in the three counties, Franklin, Hampshire, and Hampden, with Franklin County actually having the greatest percentage of artists and creatives. This is not only across the state, but it's high compared to the rest of the nation. So that's really significant. In fact, what the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission found is that 1 in 6 jobs in our region is directly tied to the creative economy. We need to support the arts in order to support the rest of our region's economy. So it was really critical. What we've also found is that that underscores this need to encourage the sector to buy local art, to really think about ways that you can connect, and Lisa's going to also share that later. Last but not least, in 2013, there was a Creative Next listening tour that got underway across the state. The findings were distilled into 5 key areas that artists and creatives had really decided were really crucially important. So the creative community said that they needed support in access to space, access to capital, professional development, visibility, and talent. We know we have it, but how do we find it? So those things all work together. The other thing that the artists wanted was a way that they could connect with each other. How do I find people? So the result was the formation of several regional creative economy networks, including the Pioneer Valley's Creative Economy Network. This was actually spearheaded by the Western Mass EDC. The Creative Economy Network collectively addressed the needs through monthly meetings. We did meet and greets events for creatives. We had a Creative Economy Summits, that theme that you'll hear again and again. We started to learn how to cross-promote each other's events through our own websites and our own organizations. We held workshops and trainings for creatives and much, much more. Most importantly, the partners really brought together their work and shared what we were doing. They brought their expertise to this collective, kind of like a patchwork. What are you doing? What are you doing? Let's share information and go together. The Arts Extension Service, for example, we have long taught artist and business trainings, so we were able to bring that work together. We also worked with support from the Community Foundation of Western Mass, which has really been a great supporter, and Chambers of Commerce also have shared news of the initiatives that were happening in various regions. So, but still, regional needs have remained, and it's been kind of an issue. The loss of, unfortunately, the Massachusetts Cultural Council canceled out their Ames grants and instead moved over towards doing what initially were unfunded cultural districts. These were partially funded by the Barr Foundation in Boston and the Community Foundation's collaboration, which is called Valley Creates. And Lisa's going to detail that on the next slide, please.
Hi, bring it up to the present a little bit, and I also want to say there are really deep Franklin County roots and ties to this project. Amy Shapiro at the CDC was really involved. I was involved running river culture and involved in fostering arts and culture. There's a lot of really great Franklin County work that went into this project. So Valley Creates, as she mentioned, was an initiative from the Community Foundation, and they that was to increase the capacity for artists and arts organizations. And there were several findings that came from all of the feedback sessions and listening tours that they did. And there were several things, but I'm just going to talk about the ones that are relevant to the ArtsHub, but it's all relevant to the arts community in general. The key things were a lack of networks and systems to support regional collaboration for the cultural community. There was a tendency for communities and organizations to be segregated by race, class, and geography, which resulted in an inequitable distribution of resources. there was a dearth of simple ways for the public to find out about what's going on in the cultural realm throughout the whole valley. There's like lots of little websites to visit, but that gets tiring going to all of those. And then finally, there's a really strong desire for the arts and culture to be recognized as an important part of the sector in this region. So to address these key things that came out, the Community Foundation offered some funding to investigate the start of a regional arts hub, which would help organizations and artists share information and resources and build awareness internally and externally. So the CEN, as Dee talked about, received a planning grant to start looking at, okay, so how are we going to make this happen? We looked at a lot of possibilities. We did additional listening tours to really kind of delve into more of like what's happening in underserved communities, BIPOC communities, communities that, you know, we really haven't heard a lot from. And then in 2021, the CEN received a major grant from the Mass Office of Business Development, and then timelines are quick, things moved quickly. And we put out an RFP to hire someone to build a site and do branding and the marketing and like really figure out how to get all of these pieces together. And we got RFPs up and down the East Coast. We got one from London, but we ended up hiring Rhyme Digital from East Hampton. They were really the best, and they're a chamber member, so that's awesome. We were very fortunate. They did not only like come as a paid consultant, but they're a true partner on this project. Next slide, please. So Ryan really figured out how to pull all of the pieces together, and I want to mention we don't really have time or like the capacity to do a live demo because the computer's over there, but if you look on your table, there's an ArtsHub postcard. You can click, there's a QR code, so if you want to scan through and look about what we're talking about, you can do that. He figured out how to pull a lot of these pieces together, including a calendar, artist profiles, professional development resources, and other features in an easy and inclusive way. There's the capability to translate the site. It's accessible for all kinds of abilities. And users are able to upload their own information to the site. So and I also want to mention this is all of Western Mass. So it covers Berkshire County, Hampshire County, Franklin County, Hampden County. Like we are Western Mass. Artists tend to work in their own silos, so it's really good to come together. And as you can see, a lot of the things that this site addresses, like professional development and an artist directory, which is a business directory, job opportunities, grant opportunities. It's very much like a chamber because artists really are businesses. Next slide, please. Dee and I both have been involved with different iterations of like working on these kinds of projects, and one of the biggest stumbling blocks was to how to get an artist database. We've tried. It's very difficult. They're expensive. They're hard. They're clunky. And we formed a strategic, and this is what enabled the ArtsHub actually to move forward. We formed a strategic partnership with New England Foundation for the Arts Creative Ground, and that is a huge New England-wide database of artists and creative businesses and organizations. That is like available all throughout New England. And so we were the first partner to approach them and say, you know, we'd really like to pull just Western Mass profiles out of this database and use it on our own website. And they had been thinking along similar lines. This was before they had their upgrade, so we kind of were working in tandem together to like try to make this happen. They upgraded their API, which enabled us now to have, and they have been around for a while, have gone through several different like versions, capitalized with millions of dollars and really creative minds. So they've like they've got it right now. And so we were able to pull it in, and now we have a regional database of Western Mass creatives. The good thing about that is, next slide please, is that artists need to create one profile. They go to Creative Ground, create their profile. It automatically appears on the Western Mass ArtsHub, but these same creatives now get visibility throughout all of New England. This enables artists to get money from outside the region by being on Creative Ground. They can find collaborators within the ArtsHub and throughout New England. And it's really a sustainable solution. When you go to the ArtsHub, you can search like, oh, I just want to see the artists that are in Greenfield, or I just want to see what artists are working in all of West, the whole Pioneer Valley. So it's like a nice central place. So it was really the strategic partnership that enabled this project to go forward. It works because it's a sustainable database that we did not need to create. We didn't need to fund it. We don't need to maintain it. It gives exposure both locally and throughout New England. It's been tested and refined over years. And the more we use it, the more data that's on there, it helps our economic development partners see what creatives are working, and it helps for planning purposes for like placemaking and for other like local cultural economic development initiatives happening. It's useful for asset mapping for us and for anyone who wants to see who's working here and how do we refine our outreach to these people. And the more centralized data that is on Creative Ground, New England Foundation for the Arts is also an advocacy organization. So if they could collect, it's like the chamber, like when everybody comes together, it's more powerful. So like when all of the New England artists are quantified, it helps them advocate more for the sector and then brings in more money. And it's free. It's free for us. It's free for users. Next slide, please. And Dee.
We can't underscore enough how vital that partnership is, so thank you, Lisa. So, being the educator, I really got the opportunity to really help launch the ArtsHub at what we called the ArtsHub Virtual Summit 2022, the theme was How to Recover and Thrive. This was critical. Think back to the very beginning of the pandemic. What happened? Everybody shut down. The arts were decimated in our state. Nothing happened. The loss of dollars was outrageous and high. So what we did was we focused this summit on how to recover and thrive. And we brought in an amazing group of folks. So first of all, like I said earlier, this concept of a summit wasn't new to us, but the idea of how do we actually transform and hold something virtually was a bit of a challenge. Fortunately, the Arts Extension Service had a virtual symposium, so we had that sort of down. What we also had to realize was people were starting to go back to work at this point, when this launched, so we decided to hold sessions both morning, noon, and night. And it was very, very packed. What we did was this theme was worked out. We brought in workshops that focused on professional development that was immediately applicable and useful to folks. The tools that we shared were either low cost or no cost, and the topics were really exciting, including from purpose to vision. How do I use TikTok to promote my work? How do I humanize my data and actually utilize it and use it? How to get your work in galleries and museums? And then we had a couple of really special topics. One was called Working with Indigenous Communities, how to support your local Indigenous arts community, also how to utilize PR, and much, much more. This was extremely well attended and it were really fun. Our presenters came from a variety of fields. They included theater, visual artists, consultants, arts marketing folks, film, and much, much more. Presenters were primarily local. They were all leaders in their particular area of expertise, and they were mostly from Western Massachusetts. But we were able to bring in some folks with national reputations from just outside the area. And thanks to our MOBD, the Mass Office of Business Development grant that we got, the summit was able to pay presenters, so we were able to engage with the best folks in the region. And we could keep the fee for participants very, very, very low. In fact, we offered scholarships to about 50% of the folks who actually attended. Next slide, please. So what does the ArtsHub actually have on it? It's chock full of cool stuff. When you go to the site, the very top section has feature articles. This was something that we decided to do right from the very get-go. We wanted to be able to feature and have stories about the artists and the creatives who are working in the region. We have periodically done stories on things like, what are the craft fairs that are coming up? How do I do this or that? What we also found was that equity was a big, huge piece. How do we make sure that in 4 counties, we cover folks in a way that everybody feels represented and that was fair? So we worked out what we're calling a matrix, which includes, the counties. When we make our selections, it's the 4 counties. We rotate the counties. We rotate the art form. We rotate by gender. We rotate by race, by folks working in different communities, much, much more. So that's been really helpful. The initial goal was that we were going to hire local writers to write about local artists, and that's worked out really, really well. What we also found was that the idea of doing this helped to put dollars back into the community by paying folks locally to do their work. We pay well. That's the one thing that people are saying, thank you, this is actually worth my time, which is great. The features were included folks who were both emerging artists as well as established artists. And the aim was to really introduce folks to each other. Who's doing what? How did this happen? So it's really pretty cool. Over time, we also realized that there were other topics of interest that the artists and the creatives were really wanted to know more about. So we've done some really cool articles on things that are kind of weird. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, cryptocurrency, all these things that artists should know about and figure out if it's right for me or not. The interesting piece is that we were able to actually utilize local artists in these stories and tell their stories as well. We did have one key requirement though. In order to be a featured artist, you had to create or you had to have already had a profile on Creative Ground that could come into the ArtsHub. And since our website needs more than just being static, we did some extra things. Next, please. We added social media. Surprise. We have not only a Facebook page, which is a general page, but we also have like a community Facebook page that artists have to actually request to participate in. They have to be a few key things that they have to say. Yes, they'll abide by the rules, etc. We also have an Instagram account. What you can see from these statistics is that these are stats from early September. This is being very well utilized. In a very short amount of time, we've had a ton of folks who've actually participated. They're looking at the website, they're talking. The best part for us is that they're actually uploading their own data. They're sharing their stories. They're putting up their events. They're saying, hey, I found this cool thing. Oh, I have a studio for rent. So they're actually adding material and items to the site. And they're having conversations in social media, which has been the piece that they were missing. So we're really excited about that. So, next, please.
One more thing I want to mention about Creative Ground and our partnership with them is that they're using the ArtsHub as a model throughout New England of like what's possible. And I've already had like Essex County called me last week. We want to do this. How did you do it? So like we're helping them set up something for their region. So that's pretty exciting. So how can you be involved with the ArtsHub? There are several ways. We encourage you, if you know artists or creatives, we encourage you to say, hey, check out the ArtsHub, and you should really have a profile on there. Use the ArtsHub listings in case you want to hire someone for an event you're having, or a wedding, or you want to buy a piece of art, or something for your home. Use the ArtsHub to post job opportunities. If you have like a graphic designer job opening or something creative in your company, you can go and post something on the ArtsHub. Or you could scroll through. If you want a graphic designer who lives in Greenfield, you can go on there and see if there are any. Let your municipality know about the ArtsHub in case they have some placemaking plans. Next slide, please. Read some inspiring features that Dee just talked about to stimulate some ideas and collaborations. Host a joint networking event, maybe with the chamber, and have like a business, artist and business networking opportunity. I think that'd be really fun. Lend expertise and advice. We're always looking for help. If you want to be a part of the advisory board, we can always use some good strategic minds. And post. If you have a space for rent, if you might have a studio space or some real estate, that would be perfect for an artist. They're always looking for space. That's one of the things that keeps coming up. We need space, rehearsal space, or gallery space, or studio space. Be a business sponsor of the ArtsHub. And finally, if you do use the Arts Hub, please let us know. We would love to know how you use it. In fact, Dee and I did an interview on a radio station, and the guy has a morning show, and he's like, you know what? All day, for my whole show, I went on the Arts Hub, I typed in the Western Mass parameters, and I only played music from Western Mass artists. Like, that was really exciting. So please let us know, because we would love to, quote you or use your story. Next slide.
So who are all these amazing people who are making this thing happen? This is our current steering committee. It's obviously me and Lisa. We also are working with someone named Justin Beatty, who is just an amazing artist. Steph Reyes, Fungi Tichiwaganda, who's awesome. Blair and Rachel Duran, who are both from Rhyme Digital. Simbert Paskins. Amy Shapiro, I wish she was here today. She's with the Franklin County CDC. She has been working in the trenches on this stuff since 2002 with us, dragging this along like everybody else, so it's great. Also, Ann Burke was actually the Western Mass EDC, and she was the person who really created and really was like the brains behind having the Pioneer Valley Creative Economy Network, so we're awesome. I'm excited to work with her. And Carlos Pena lives and works in Holyoke. He's actually now running Paper City Clothing Company, just amazing folks. The really amazing thing about these individuals is that many of them are community liaisons. Lisa mentioned the idea of like, how do we reach folks who are in BIPOC or underserved communities? So we've been working with these community liaisons because they are going into their own communities authentically and talking about the Arts Hub, talking about the benefits to local artists about what they can do. And then they are bringing back the stories and the concerns and the issues from their community so that we can go back to the Arts Hub and tweak it, make things more accessible, figure out what the barriers might be to really invite other folks to participate and make sure that everybody in the region is actually participating. So that's what we're up to. It's been really an exciting work.
All right, and the last slide. Just a rundown of all the partners and the project, partners and funders. And I invite you to scan the QR code on the card and bookmark it and use the site and get in touch with me and let me know what you think and if you have any ideas or want to be involved and if you use it. So thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Dee. I mean, that's just so much work that's gone into the Arts Hub over the last 20 years, so it's really nice to see it kind of take shape. And as we're seeing Main Street USAs across the nation, it's really the creative arts sector that's kind of the personality of our individual towns and communities, so it's really critical that we kind of bolster that community because it is an economic driver, particularly here in Franklin County, so we want to see them thrive. So if you know artists, and that means photographers, videographers, graphic designers, please connect them to the Arts Hub. And then while you're doing that, take a moment and follow the Chamber on social media, please. We are working really hard to spotlight different businesses. So if you have a marketing person, please tag us. You can tag us on your stories, tag us on your Facebook. We will reshare. We're really excited to be in a position to share all of the exciting events and news that is happening across Franklin County. So please follow us, stay there. And then if you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, Marion's in the back, leave your card. We'll make sure that we sign you up. There's some really great content in there. Thank you so much.